Oh, hi there. Today I'm going to be testing some wine. Actually, I've already had this wine before and it's quite nice. It's not the best wine out there, but it's not bad. You may have noticed I'm wearing a Colorado Avalanche jersey. Um, there's no reason for it, I just feel like wearing one. Anyway, the wine that I will talk to you about is a Campofiorin. It's a Massey, an Italian wine. Came out in the mid 60s. Um, it's not bad going. It's not especially very expensive. Most wine, if you wanted to get into good stuff, can go up from like 40 to 60 to 80 to $100. And some of it can be swing and a miss. Some of it's way overpriced for what it is. This one is normally about 20 bucks for 750 milliliters. That's okay. It's $2 off, and whenever it's $2 off or whatever, I pick up a bottle of it and try it out, because I do like it. It's getting into the echelon of better tasting wine, but without overdoing it. Because as I said, you could spend, easily $40 on a bottle of wine that is no better than the Campofiorin. A thing about wine is there are some bottles out there that have really nice labeling, and it's really captivating. Some of them will have pictures of the devil, or sometimes farm animals, or whatever. They got all kinds of designs for wine bottles, and you can't judge if it's a good wine or not when you're going to buy it just by looking at the label. That can be deceiving, because this one, it's got an okay label, but it could have been a lot fancier. But I, prefer that the wine were better than having a fancy label. And so yeah, we're gonna have a little sip of this. I had to make sure my dad didn't drink too much of it. He said he only wanted one glass, so that's fine. Although his glass is a lot bigger than mine. So yeah, we'll have a little taste of it. Well, it's smooth, and but it's deep. It's not bad. Like I said, it's climbing the ladder. It's tasting wine that's a bit better than your average sort of stuff. I mean, it's different than just your average junk. Like, this is completely attainable for even lower income persons who cannot afford expensive things. This is definitely something that you can and should get if you plan on getting a bottled wine for the holidays or whatever. It says something on here. What does it say? Nectar Angulorium homometis. I believe that translates into the nectar of angels for men. It's quite fitting. It says vintage milestone, or vintage milesome? Never heard of that word before. 2012. It's got 5 stars. I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, I should drink this a little bit slower than I would normally drink wine. A, because it's better to drink wine a little bit slower. You shouldn't just gulp it back, because then that's wasteful. But, with the cheaper stuff, it is so repulsive, some of it, that all you want to do is like drink it real quick, and then, then you've drank the wine and you don't notice how terrible it is. In fact, a lot of the cheaper wines are way better as something you would add to meat to marinate it. or perhaps added to a gravy or something like that, or onto a pie or something. And there are many other instances where alcohol could be added to food, and I'm not very good at that sort of thing. That's not my specialty. I can't imagine it being very difficult, but yeah, I'm sure a quick Google search and you'll be able to, figure out which dishes go best with what. So, yeah, this is not bad wine. I would recommend buying it, especially as it's $2 off right now. At full price, it's an occasional thing. What I would recommend, though, is that I myself would drink Henkel as a sparkling wine for the new year. It's not champagne, and that's a good thing, because champagne these days is way overpriced. You can easily blow a lot of money on champagne, and just to have that name, just to have something that's supposed to be better, but it's not really. Like, I had champagne a few years ago, a decent bottle. I forget what I paid for it, but it was just like, it wasn't much better than Henkel. I mean, technically it was a champagne as opposed to sparkling wine, which is all Henkel is, but it still wasn't that much better to justify how much more it cost. Maybe I didn't pick the right one. Maybe I wasn't sure what I was looking for. My dad didn't want to help at all, because he's been soured on the whole champagne scene since it's gone out of control in price, because he actually used to drink quite a bit of it. But this is when it was more reasonably priced, before the frogs and the Italians got too greedy. The thing is, in Italy, and probably France too, I'm not too sure about that. I really should have asked before I made this video, but whatever. Wine is more affordable and a more respectable price, whereas here in Vancouver, in Canada, it's out of control. It's way too expensive. No one can afford any of the supposed good stuff, and the people who can are, good for them. I do have a cheap, disgusting wine by the name of Danini, which my dad has also drank most of. There's like a glass and a half left in a 1.5 liter bottle. So my dad is 200 pound, not overweight, he's just big. And he's very tolerant to alcohol. He's been a seasoned drinker most of his life. So you can understand that within a day, that's not actually that much alcohol. It is and it isn't, but like none of us drive, so being over the limit wouldn't be a concern. But that isn't that much alcohol, really. 1.5 liters of wine. He didn't drink 1.5 liters. He probably drank 1 liter. That's not a lot. Like even like a beginner drinker could easily drink 1 liter of wine, and okay, they'd probably be a little bit drunk, but they wouldn't be that drunk. Like it wouldn't be blackouts, and you don't know where you are, and you're just combobulating, you're throwing up and all that sort of stuff. I used to be a young punk teenager. I've seen all that stuff, as most people have. And I think wine is a good way to start drinking. And you have your set limit of how much you want, whether it be 750 mils or the liter, and that's it. You don't go over it. And the best trick towards that is to not have it. If you don't have it, you're not drinking it. So just have the set amount you start off with that you wanted, and don't go back for more. But anyway, that's a totally different thing that I wanted to talk about, because I wanted to talk about how awesome this Massey Campofiorin is. And that has nothing to do with beginning drinking and sloppiness and all that other sort of stuff. So anyway, this isn't going to win, the gold medal in any Olympic event or anything like that, but for what you pay for it, it is pretty good, and it is what I think it should be. I think once you hit the $20 mark, that wine should be tasting similar to this. It would be nice if you could get like top of the line, most delicious, awesome tasting wine for 20 bucks. But those days are long over before I started drinking. So, you know, you take what you can. And I would advise blowing 60 bucks on a bottle of wine. If you don't know what it is, if you're stargazed by the logo on it, not the logo, but you know, the picture on it, because this, with today's standards, they could put a different sticker on it, a different label, and charge 60 bucks for it. And there are plenty of wines that are 60 bucks, and they're no better than this one. And I'm not saying that from a, you know, a biased perspective. I'm not going, oh, I'm bitter because I can't afford $60 bottle of wines, therefore I'm just going to trash them, trash what I don't even know. I must admit, I have not had a $60 bottle of wine in a number of months. I believe it was a birthday party at a restaurant when I last paid anything like that, and you know, it was just like little drinks of wine. It was nothing overboard or anything like that. And that's actually, in a decent restaurant, that's what you can expect to pay for a bottle of wine, actually. I mean, you can go into certain restaurants, like there's a few that I like where it's like 35 bucks for a bottle of wine. And that's actually pretty decently priced, because wine's actually quite expensive in restaurants, as some people will know. The Danini, it's 12 bucks, but it tastes like maybe a 4 out of 10, and the Massey tastes like, well, I want to say 7 out of 10, because obviously there are better tasting wines, but I don't think 3 points above the Danini is fair. But I don't want to give the Danini less than 4, because then that's a bit harsh. I don't think that's accurate. I would say it's about a 4, and I will say the Campofiorin is 8, even though I'm really more thinking of a 7, because I have had like really nice tasting wine, not lately, and I can't remember what they're called, because it was a while back. I was with my parents and we were at restaurants and things like that, so their names don't come to mind. But anyway, if you want to upgrade your wine knowledge apparatus, then I suggest you start with a Massey Campofiorin. It's reasonably priced for what it is. When it's on a deal, even better. It tastes not bad. It's not as smooth as I may have said it was earlier, but it is still pretty smooth. And that's not really a good wine term either. I'm sure there are better words to use to describe wine, but I'm not a wine connoisseur. I don't know these things yet. But someday I plan on learning the ins and outs of good tasting wine and paying the appropriate price for things. I certainly don't want to spend 60 bucks and not be satisfied with a bottle of wine, or spend even more and be told to let it sit for 5 years and not really be impressed with it afterwards. Who knows? I don't know these things. And I'm not one of these people who would buy a bottle of wine, hold on to it for a few years, and then sell it for more money. I suppose I would if the opportunity, I don't want to say presented itself, but if the situation were indicative towards how I felt at that time, then I might go along with it. But if I'm putting something down in my place, I plan on drinking it at some point. Yeah, as a rule, you're actually supposed to drink the crummy tasting wine first if you have 2 bottles. Like if you got a smaller bottle of a decent wine and you got the crummy bottle of not so good wine, but more of it, you're supposed to drink the crummy bottle first, because then you don't realize how disgusting it is after you've tasted the Massey. You just think the Massey tastes so much better. But I'm doing it the other way around because I don't plan on having much of the Danini. I'm going to drink the nice stuff first, and then when I go to drink the Danini, I'll feel really repulsed afterwards. There's only a glass and a half left. I can't leave a bottle of wine with my dad all day long. It's gonna evaporate. And keep it in mind, some of this went into some steak, so that's also to be considered. Yeah, I don't have much to say else. This thing did come in a book. It's got fake aged sort of paper on it. The book doesn't actually say very much. It is in Italian. It says, Campofiorin is the fruit of my family's commitment to hand down the values of land cultivated with authentic passion. And it says it in Italian too on the right. And there's a picture of him and his family. Not really much to say. I will buy another bottle of Campofiorin before the deal is up. They usually last about a month. And since it's Christmas, all the once a year people are going to be buying alcohol, and they're going to be buying all the stuff that's on a deal. So this Campofiorin is going to disappear from liquor store shelves. Not in the next week or two, but around Christmas, I guarantee you it's going to be gone. And that is very annoying. I hate shopping for alcohol around Christmas, to be honest with you, because all the schnooks, all the dweebs, all the preppy, I'm too good for these common drinkers and alcoholics and things like that, I get to look my nose down on them because it's the one time a year, and I'm gonna buy a bunch of alcohol, and I'm gonna buy so much higher quality than them, and it's just they're obnoxious, these once a year Christmas alcohol buyers. There's a lot of things that are really annoying about them. So I like to get my alcohol purchases done long before Christmas Day, at least a solid week before it. So that does involve dropping some money doing it, but it's well worth it. Yeah. So anyway, I guess I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one.